Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Good.
Good. Welcome,
Yeah,
welcome.
thanks. I see your ad or your post on Facebook about the G4 and Google. I could not resist to check that out.
Awesome.
Elusive and mystifying GA4.
Yeah. Do you like it better now than the old version, or do you like the old version better?
I'm trying to like it
That's kind of where I'm at too.
once once we understand it more.
Yeah. I was just getting used to the other one, and then they go and switch the game up on us, you know?
Of course.
Yep. What's funny is they rolled it out too before they even rolled out new training videos compared to Universal. So how
Yeah,
did they expect people to know how to use it without having the appropriate training resources?
good point.
But that's what we're here for.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. We'll give another couple of minutes just for some more folks to join. Obviously, some individuals might have to be downloading Zoom or downloading the Zoom update and all that fun stuff if they use Teams or anything primarily. So we can give them a couple of minutes and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Good.
Welcome, Logan, Sarah, and Brian.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you guys doing today? That
I'm
good.
good.
Awesome. Ooh. Everyone else feeling busier than normal this time of year?
Yes. I've always got a lot going on just for work, and then, you know, still got to do my Christmas shopping. I got one thing bought, and that's a PlayStation for my kids, so I got that good to go. That's the main thing.
As long as the big item's taken care
Right.
Mhm.
Everybody else is getting cards.
of. I always say I'm going to do some cool homemade something every year, and I'm going to magically have the time and the artistic capability for it. No,
Now you
none of
can just use AI to do it.
true. Knock out some t-shirt designs. I love Danielle shirts for my whole family.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't know what my son was going to ask for this year, and turned around to me and was just like, "I'd really like some Heelys." I was just like, "Okay, well, I feel old because I don't actually know what they are or where to get them, but apparently they're shoes with wheels in them, so a nice easy one, really."
I'm surprised those are still a thing.
I'm surprised I don't have them. That'd be
Yeah.
nice if you're going through the grocery store to just wheel down the aisle,
Yeah,
grab the
I was
pickles or whatever.
I was tempted to buy myself a pair as well, but I resisted.
Can learn alongside him.
I'd
It's true.
probably end up being one of those videos you see where
Yeah.
guy does the Heelys, ends up in the emergency room.
Almost certainly. Plus, I got him some SpongeBob SquarePants once, so I don't think I could be that cool.
That's hilarious. It's good to know Heelys are still a thing. I had those and couldn't figure them out, kept falling, and then never touched them again.
You probably got to have extra health insurance just to own those as an adult.
Yeah, with these knees, I wouldn't even bother.
I used to rollerblade all the time. That was my thing. But I had one good crash, and I was like, you know what? That's for the younger people now.
Those days are behind us. All right, we can give one more minute and we can go ahead and get started. And as folks join, we'll just let them in. And then, of course, this is all going to be recorded. So we did have quite a few more registrants, so we want to give them at least another minute or so. But if not, then we can just go ahead and get started.
Okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Perfect. All right. Let me my screen and Zoom windows out of the way. And we can just jump in. So welcome all. Today we're going to be embarking on a journey into the wonderful world of Google Analytics. So not only Google Analytics, but Google Analytics 4. We've heard your frustrations when it comes to navigating the latest update and finding the metrics that matter most to you that might have been just a little bit more easier accessible inside of Universal. So rest assured, we're here to demystify GA4 a bit and help you make sense of its treasure trove of information. Our goal today is not only to go over some of the differences between Universal and GA4, but also to guide you on setting up a dashboard that will hopefully empower your team to be able to swiftly access the data that matters most to you folks, and be able to better analyze your online performance. Why does all this data matter? Well, how else are we going to track all the exponential growth that's in store for you in 2024 and the upcoming year? We want to ensure that all of our partners are able to make database decisions, and even those folks that aren't quite yet partners, again, just going into the new year with as much information as possible so that you can make more strategic decisions to help reach your goals. So not only looking to increase the number of leads that are, of course, coming to your site, but also provide some more insights on how users are interacting with the content that you have, wherever we can get them to the point of conversion, and trying to expedite that user journey to get them to the point of conversion faster and make sure we're delivering value along the way. So whether that's form fills, actual on-site purchases, or clicking a phone number to call, we want to empower, obviously, understanding where they're coming from, what they're doing with the information we're providing, and finding those opportunities to provide them more information. Plus, our next partner event focus will be on user journey specifically, so all of this data is going to help guide that discussion. Don't worry about taking notes along the way. We will be sending over a recording and recap of this following conclusion, and we'll be able to also cover this in more detail with a follow-up chat just to make sure that you were able to set up a robust dashboard that has all of the information that is most important to you and your business. So we don't want our 2024 goals to grow cold right out of the gate. But before I turn it over to Mr. Gary, who's going to be leading us through today's topic, we did want to start with a little icebreaker. So this is going to test not only your guys' quick ability to grab some images from Google, but also if you know the Zoom settings very well. We're asking that you grab an image from Google of where your ideal vacation would be for a Christmas vacation and make that your Zoom background. Ready, set, go. Ooh, okay. Seeing lots of beaches. Where are you hailing from, Mr. Scott?
Jamaica.
Nice. Nice. Ever been?
No, I really would like to go though.
High on my list too. What about you, Miss Logan?
Fiji.
Me too. Always been high on my list next to Bali.
We can go together.
Is that Greece or Italy?
Italy.
Italy. Nice. The Amalfi Coast, also super high on my list.
My parents were just there and I really wanted to go, so.
Yeah, I'd kill to go to Italy. We actually had a client that was there at the start of the pandemic and they got stuck there for a couple of months when COVID started. So that was probably not so fun.
Hi, Megan.
Hey there, Megan. Thanks for joining. We're just doing a quick icebreaker, but we'll wrap up here in a second. So I think that's everybody with camera on. Love it. Hopefully you get to go to these awesome, wonderful places sometime in your near future, whether that's for Christmas or not for Christmas. All right. Well, now that we're successfully ice-brokened in, I'll turn it over to Mr. Gary to begin us in our journey into GA4.
Cool. So if everyone could get into this by taking a picture of the QR code, and we can do a quick poll. I'm going to do it too. And yeah, whatever comes to mind when you think of your data, your website data, however that might be.
Leads. Yep. Data helps us make more quantitative and qualitative decisions. Hopefully attract better leads, see where they're coming from. Unorganized, probably how it feels inside of GA4. Yep, complicated.
Makes sense. Okay.
Data helps us segment. It's the most valuable commodity on earth. Love that. It is the new product. All data is essentially what everyone is trying to get after.
It's like the new version of oil.
Mm-hmm. In a way, consumers have kind of become the product because our user data is sold to many companies to make their own decisions.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point because Google Analytics 4 has kind of been set up to kind of negate some of those things as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but it all fits in.
We have one more typing, so we'll wait for that one before we move on. Useful and important. Yep.
Absolutely. As long as you know how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thanks for the polling, guys. So just as a brief overview, I wanted to touch upon some of the reasons why we are using Google Analytics 4, the reasons why Google decided to move from universal and change everything up a little bit. And also just touch upon the differences between the two services, what you can do with GA4 now or Google Analytics 4, which wasn't possible with universal. And yeah, touch upon those things and answer a few questions, hopefully before we move on to the breakout rooms. So just as a brief overview, Google actually launched Google Analytics 4 in 2020, and it slowly ramped up its features and its kind of what it can do. Its primary goal was to collect the same data as universal, but what Google wanted to do was provide information that was more tailored to what people are using their Google Analytics accounts for now, rather than in the past. Universal was around for almost a decade, and things have changed over that time exponentially for a lot of companies and how they want to track that information. So it became a question of changing Google Analytics to fit those new criterias. A secondary thing that was really important at the time in 2020 was there was a lot of privacy concerns. So there was a lot of conversations about how data was being used, how data was being collected by big companies. And Google Analytics 4, one of its main drivers, its secondary driver, is to provide improved privacy controls. So within Universal, you used to be able to, at one point, find individual IPs, and now that is no longer possible when using Google Analytics 4. They're trying to improve that privacy and kind of mask the information. So you're still getting that important data, but you don't necessarily know the exact people who are coming to your site, trying to cut that out. from the picture, so they don't have to deal with those kind of concerns in the future when it comes to privacy. Just as a quick question, and I know we've already touched upon this, but who's already been starting to use Google Analytics 4 on their kind of monthly, weekly cadence?
I have.
Right, and we've already touched on this as well, but does anyone actually prefer it to Universal?
I kind of like it. It's simple when you get in there. I like that part of it, but I was more familiar with the previous version where to find certain things. So sometimes I have to look up where something is. But when you first go on it, it's like pretty direct and it has everything in one place.
Hmm.
Just, going in depth more is a little more difficult.
Sure. So with that in mind, just as a quick comparison, on the surface, things can look quite similar in terms of what's there and what's not there. But in terms of what both things can do, like Universal versus Google Analytics 4, it's important to know kind of the baseline about what's fundamentally changed with both services. So with Universal, as an example, we would normally track things through page views and sessions. So a page view would be when someone clicks onto your site and they could do whatever they wanted on that page, interact with it, engage with it in a number of different ways, and then click onto another page. And that would become one session and 2 page views. What GA4 does is it bases its information more around events and parameters. So it's more based around what people are doing on your website or on those web pages, rather than just they clicked onto your website. So as an example, if someone now goes onto your website and you have GA4 installed, if they scroll down, if they click a button, if they decide to play a video, if they decide to click a external link, or on any of those events, they are now tracked as default in Google Analytics 4. And they've also made it possible, with the help of other Google products like Google Tag Manager, to set up your own unique kind of events and conversions. So and some of those things were available in Universal, but it was very limited in terms of what you could and couldn't do. In terms of other big changes with Google Analytics 4, they've made it possible to track a user journey across multiple sites that you might own. So if you have a number of subdomains or you have an app, and the people move from one to the other, you can now track that in one property, in one Google Analytics account. Back when it was Universal, you probably would have needed 3 accounts. So now if you have a subdomain, you can filter out that information or have it be part of the larger information that you're looking at in terms of page views and things like that. So that's a big change that they've made. Another thing that is a little different is Universal had some default information that was there all the time. Things like bounce rate. And I think if you've used Google Analytics 4, you've probably noticed that some of these things like bounce rate have disappeared recently or have never been there on Google Analytics 4. One of the things we're going to look at, and it's good news for those people who like using bounce rate as a way to factor in how things are going with their website, is that you can add those things back into your reports. You just need to customize them a little bit, and that's something we'll be looking at today in a little bit more depth. But as a general rule, and as you probably have guessed by how many times I've said it already, Google Analytics 4 is very much about tracking the user journey these days. Google is encouraging us to set up our own events and our own conversions, so we know what's going on. And it can be as simple as setting up a link to your phone number and then being able to create an event to show how many times people click that on a monthly cadence. And if that information helps you, that's the kind of things that we can do as part of a new expanded user journey on Google Analytics 4. So this is another little poll. Do you have customized events and conversions in your account? Just interested to know how many people are kind of using this capability. on a monthly basis. Okay. So it definitely shows that there is a lot of interest in doing these things, just so that you can understand a bit more about how people are using your website and if there's things that can be improved. Is that everyone? Has everyone voted?
I'm curious, for those that said yes, if you have any unique events set up other than obviously e-commerce site, a conversion being a purchase, a form fill or a phone click, but does anyone have any other more unique events or conversion tracking set up currently? No.
No.
Okay, so pretty much all the basics and the standard. Good to know.
Cool. So something we're going to look at today, and something we've already talked about, is kind of customizing our Google Analytics accounts. Every business has its own kind of unique needs and its own KPIs that it shows success with. And even though Google Analytics 4 can do more for us, sometimes as it's a new platform, and I think a lot of us would have grown used to Universal, it can be hard to find those things a little bit. And if we customize our dashboards and customize our reports, we can save ourselves a little bit more time finding that information. Just as a quick overview, before I start using these terms a lot, I just wanted to provide a little background on what I mean by this. So a dashboard in Google Analytics 4 would be the thing at the side, left-hand side, and it will Google creates default ones, and they'll be called things like life cycle. And it's basically an area in which Google collects all the reports you have for your key insights, like page views and things like that. So sometimes, I think now Google actually calls them collections, but I've always known them as dashboards. So I thought I would talk to them with that name. But yeah, so you can create your own dashboard, give it its own name, and collect your own customized reports within that. So it makes it much easier to find things. When I talk about reports, I mean those areas of GA4 that gives you all that important information. So where you look to find your page views, your user numbers, your bounce rates, these can all be customized in ways to help you understand your information a little bit more. And that's something we'll look into a little bit more today during the breakout rooms. So yeah, one of the main focuses for us today will be building your own dashboard, basically where you can find those options and how you can get started on those kind of things for yourself. A great thing you can do with the dashboard is this thing that kind of I find difficult with GA4, and I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but there is a lot of like you go in and there's lots of columns and they give you all these kind of different metrics. And sometimes you don't need to know views per user, or you don't need to know, you might not have purchases as a thing as part of your website, or maybe purchases is the most important thing, but it's right at the end of your column. And you have to, every time you try and use GA4, you have to scroll to find that information. Something we can do when creating our own dashboard is we can simply delete all the things out of our dashboard that we don't need to know about. And if it's a customized report, it's still there somewhere else in another dashboard, but your dashboard can just simply be 3 metrics that matter the most to you, or 4 or 5, or whatever your company's core KPIs are. So yeah, a real thing that we want to emphasize is it's possible to, even though there's loads of data in GA4 and it can be kind of a hassle to find what you need, you can streamline it, and you can cut down that time of clicking through all those different places. And also it provides an opportunity to look at things that you might not be monitoring, such as bounce rate, because they've removed them. So it's an opportunity to kind of look at those items and decide if you want to add them back in. So just another poll that we wanted to look at. This one's about how many times you use analytics on a weekly basis. I'm gonna have to go with the 5 because that's kind of my job.
Just a little. So a couple times.
So it's definitely a part of our weekly lives, especially for me anyway. But yeah, did everyone vote? Excellent. Cool. Yeah, I think that reflects its kind of importance in kind of our weekly, monthly kind of cadence, how we do things. So just highlighting some of the benefits of Google Analytics 4, even though I grumbled when I found out they were going to force me out of Universal, it does offer some great opportunities like better understanding the user journey. It's just about finding that information that's important to you. New ways to track those items that make sense for your company, things like form submissions and campaigns. If there were regional or demographic information that you need, you can now break those down a little easier, and they're presented in a way that's much easier to understand than say in Universal. And the other big thing about Google Analytics 4 is, unlike Universal, Google Analytics 4 is much more modern, and it means that it's got improved integrations with other software. So if you wanted to do A/B testing, or you wanted to install a heat map, or find out a little bit more about maybe record how people interact when they're clicking on certain areas of your website, then you could install something like Crazy Egg or Hotjar, and you could then integrate it with your Google Analytics 4 information, your data. And that's something that Google's pushing a lot more now, whereas Universal was a much more closed up kind of shop for those kind of things. So before we jump into the breakout rooms, I just wanted to say that we were going to kind of review the differences between what a dashboard and a custom report is, kind of find those things in GA4 so you guys know where they are, and just learn how we can add and delete those metrics to kind of customize those reports a little more for your needs.
Yeah, Gary, you can go ahead because we have this intimate group. We're just going to stay as one instead of breaking out into those breakout rooms.
Okay, cool. Do I just go forward, right?
Yep. Well, nope. Just go into GA4.
Okay. I will switch to here. So I've picked a platform that is a e-commerce GA4 account. And I just kind of wanted to show where you can find these things, the things I've talked about, creating those custom dashboards. So this is what I mean by a dashboard. This is the lifecycle dashboard, and this is where you find your pages, view your events, your conversions. So this is the ones that come as default. If we want to create our own dashboard, we can do that by going to the library, and we can create them using this option here. This makes it possible for us to create a new collection, and you'll have a few default ones here that will be available to you. Before you do move into creating a new collection, a thing to keep in mind is whenever you create a custom dashboard, you should always create a custom report for it to go with. And the reason for that is, if you just add a normal report to something, it will change that report everywhere. So it's good to start with a report that is customized. And we can do that by, there's a couple of different templates here. So if we pick something easy like traffic acquisition that will come with a default amount of things that we can look at. And this is how it would normally look. And it will come with things like users sessions, engaged sessions, that kind of stuff. But say, like I was talking about, you might not need events per session, or you might not need some of these, or you might just want to move some of this stuff around. You can do that by clicking on the report data, looking at the metrics that are available, and you can move things around using this. So if revenue is the thing that you really care about and is the thing that's driving most of the information that you're coming to Google Analytics for, or if it's conversions, you can hold down on your mouse pad and simply move it up and make it top of the queue rather than at the back. You can also start removing things like whatever items that don't really make sense to you, you don't need, you can just press X on those things. And then after you've completed everything that you want, you can press apply. If you want to add a metric, you can then look through, say, the ones that really matter to you. Say it's a purchase revenue, or it isn't e-commerce. Maybe it's something to do with what I was talking about before, bounce rate. You can click on this breakdown here and kind of scroll through what you're looking for and just see what's available. After you've done all that, you can apply it, and it should show you just the ones that you need, the ones that you wanted, kind of broken down into the information that's available through that. And another neat little trick you can do is, say you want these charts not to show this information about users, but say it's about revenue, you can click on this next to each of these, there'll be like a little down arrow, and it will change all the charts to follow that information instead. So instead, now you've got that breakdown of the revenue and things in those charts. If you only need the bar chart, you can also go to this area here and just simply remove it, remove the other chart, so it's just that. And if you don't need any charts at all, just get rid of them, and you no longer have to deal with that. There is options to create new cards, but that usually, I wouldn't say you really need to do that. There's also this thing about dimensions, but really if you start mixing up things with dimensions, then it will start pulling data away from the your pages for your website. So I usually keep that as a default. After you've done all this, you can simply click save. I would give it a custom name because that it will make it easier for you to find it to apply to your dashboard. And you can call it whatever you need to do, or if it's more centric to a person. So say it's just, you know, then you can do that. You can provide a description if you need to as well. And when it's all saved and ready to go, then that will become available in your new dashboard when you look to create that. To create a new dashboard, you go into collections, and then I would pick blank because all of these are defaults information. You can't add a custom report there. And then I would also say you need to name it, and you need to pick the detail reports as well, because the overviews are nice, but they literally provide an overview. You won't be able to find the information that you need in terms of with the detailed reports. Your custom reports will usually appear at the bottom. These will be where you find them, and then you can simply move them over to your new topic after you've named it and made all the descriptions and stuff. After your dashboard is complete and you're happy with what it contains, one of the things you can do to add it to your account, the final kind of step for this is to make sure that you publish it. Just as a when doing this, I think you can make as many collections as you want. There's quite a few here already, but the problem is you can only publish a certain amount. You can only have a certain amount of these dashboards available to you at once. So when you do say publish one, it will apply it and it will appear here, but it will you won't be able to add more than, I think it's 4. So you might need to unpublish it as well. So if you need to do that, you can unpublish. And if you do end up I didn't unpublish, hold on. If you do have a reason, you go into one of these, you go into the report that you've created, the custom report you've created, and you do notice something that you find isn't something that makes sense to you, or it doesn't this wouldn't be a good example of it. I'll go into this one instead. Say you go into a report and there's still stuff you'd like to change into it, then you can further customize by going up to the top right and making those changes there as well. And that will bring up the same options that you saw when I was customizing the reports. So yeah, that's the basic overview of if you want to start customizing these dashboards and changing the information that's available to you.
I have a question with that.
Mhm.
Real quick one. Like I wanted to get like a little more formal or like follow-up training on this, and I was looking at the Google certificate offered through Coursera. Do you know if that if they could teach that kind of stuff in there, just so you know, to get more trained on it? You familiar with that?
Yeah, so I've done certifications, and I know it does. They're really great, and they do cover a lot of the information that that I use for sure. And it will be broken down into videos, and and then there's a test at the end that will test you on all your knowledge. I can't remember what I used to do that, but I know they do them for free. So I think you can Google runs them themselves as a free course. I think you just need a Gmail account to do it. Is that correct, Jalen?
Yes, so it's called Skillshop. So they have ads, analytics, a lot of different certifications in there that you could take.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I recently signed up to Skillshop for Google My Business, actually. It's a much shorter course, but I know that they offer that as well.
Okay, thanks.
Does anybody else have any questions pertaining to what Gary went over, or if there's anything specific that you wanted to know about GA4?
Hey, Gary.
Hey.
Do you have your Search Console report set up or in here?
Yes. So it isn't in this account, but I do regularly set them up for partners and stuff.
Okay. We have one set up, but it's blank. I honestly don't remember if I set it up or what, but yeah, I can see everything in Search Console. It would just be nice to see it here.
Yeah. So what might have happened is there might have been the wrong account set, like linked. So if you want to check that, you can go into your admin and you can find which one's linked by going to the Search Console links at the bottom. So this one's linked to through GA4 here, but if you check it, it might just simply be that you might have maybe 1 or 2 Search Consoles set up, and you just need to check the links to them.
Okay.
But that should, if it is connected, it should be available, and it should be bringing that data through. There shouldn't be a issue with it, and it's published. It's not showing you the information, correct?
It's just that way.
Yeah, so
Moving along, sorry.
Yeah, it's nice. It's really nice how Google Analytics 4 is super simple with that kind of stuff. It's just simply finding it and pressing the buttons through and stuff. Whereas with Universal, it was a bit more like you had to jump through a few more hoops to do those things.
Alrighty, Gary, I'm about to request remote control from you really quick. There we go. Okay. So I can go over traffic channels a little bit more and anything related to paid advertising. I know some partners on here are doing paid ads, but if there are other people thinking about going into paid advertising, we can talk about that a little bit more. So within the life cycle, kind of that Gary already went over, there is user acquisition and traffic acquisition. So user acquisition will show how new users are coming onto your website, and then traffic acquisition talks about those new sessions. So if we go into traffic, like Gary said, there may be metrics that you might care about or may not care about. Those can all be taken out if needed to. And even too, if you're like, okay, I'm not really sure what this metric means, you can always highlight over that definition and or that term and get the definition for it. So an engaged session is any session that lasts longer than 10 seconds, or they made a conversion to whatever is set in your GA4 account, or has had 2 or more screen and page views. So we can see with this account that their top channel is organic search. So if you ever want to look at how your channels are bringing in the most traffic to your website, user and traffic acquisition would be that most helpful place for you. And then looking at it from a user standpoint, and then new users would be in that user acquisition. So like I said, we can see those traffic channels, and even if you wanted to drill it down a little bit further into timeframes. So if you want to look at dates and at hours, just to drill down those form conversions that you are getting in your website, just make sure that you click this button, and then you would be able to filter them that way. So still that same arrow where you can kind of like highlight it down and up to make sure it goes by either like the closest date or the further date. And even some more factors that might be more pertinent to you guys. So when you are looking at your data, is outside of traffic channels, is anything else more important to you that you see on the screen?
Demographic, maybe? Or geography?
Yep. So let's do geography. So we can break it down by, let's just do city, and then region would be state. So if we filter this up, there will be some not sets. That's just because that user doesn't have a lot of their settings set for GA4 to be able to grab. So it's not alarming, but sometimes we will not be able to see some information. And so then, of course, if you can't see everything, there are different rows that you can make sure you add on to. So we have cities here, so you can see all the different cities, but if you wanted to break it down by state, so geography and region, geography and region. So this information could be helpful just to make sure that you are getting the right information that you need, that you're seeing who is coming to your website and from where, and even too from a paid ads perspective, like if you are running advertising, you're targeting certain zip codes, cities, states, even countries, you're able to kind of correlate that data back together. So that is all that information between user and traffic acquisition, and then between events and conversions. So event is basically what the user is doing on the website. So by default, we set up these for our partners. So page views, first session, purchase. Like Gary said, this is an e-commerce based website. So we're looking at how many purchases are coming into their website, any contact form submissions, and then CTM would be call tracking that we use for Google Ads. So just making sure that we have that data tracked in the account so we can see how all of that is moving throughout the website. And then the conversion is actually what you care about tracking. So yes, we can track events, but everything that's an event is not a conversion unless we set it. So if there's super more important things like we see book now form, so that's an event, but then it's also a conversion. So if there are things that are more important to you, where it's like if there are calls, if there's form fields, if there's file downloads, if there's a newsletter sign up, anything that is like super important for your goals going into 2024 and any kind of marketing, those would be important to set for conversions. And then within pages and screens, we are able to see your top landing pages. So where is the most traffic coming onto your website? So we can see, at least for me, knowing that a lot of these are blog posts or like the landing pages for the different resorts that are in Cabo San Lucas Airport or Mexico. They have airport kind of related content for people who are searching to travel into Cabo, like how do they get there? How do they get to their resort? And that type of thing. So we can see those different views, the engagement time, conversions. We can add bounce rate in here as well. So lots of different data for you to look at. And of course, it can be overwhelming. It can be confusing. It can be complicated, like we talked about a little bit earlier. But our job is to help you understand what that data is. So of course, if you have any additional questions, just let us know even now or after the webinar, and we'll be happy to help. If there are any questions now, feel free to ask.
What kind of information do you get for a traffic source the way you have it set up? So you can, we could kind of get an idea of where people are finding us.
Yeah, so in your traffic acquisition, this would be the best way to see it. So then if you filter it, you go traffic source. And so we're just going to do session source. And that way we can see organic is Google, paid is Google, cross network is also Google, which is a part of paid search. That's just a different type of campaign that's available. Paid search would be like your paid search where you're bidding on keywords. If you see display, that's also ads, just the visual more so ads. Also down here, we could see that Bing traffic is coming in from organic search, even from a referral website from these two different ones, and then a mobile Facebook link. So there's a lot of different ways that you can break the data down a little bit more so you can understand that it's not just a traffic channel, but there are other factors that are going into it as well.
Excellent. Thanks.
No problem. Any other questions?
Not on that note.
Okay, so Gary, I'm passing the control back over to you and then you can bring back up the slides.
Cool.
So we also had a slide for questions, but seems like we pretty much answered them. And like I said too, if there are any questions that come up after this webinar, please feel free to ask us. So that is our webinar. Thank you so much for coming to our Warming Up Your Data GA4 webinar. We hope that you gained a lot of information from it. Your partnership and participation of our webinar and of our agency means a lot to us, and we're here for your continued growth online. So please continue to use us as a resource. We will have different content on the website about this information, so just stay tuned for that. You will also receive a survey in your inbox shortly, so please give us all the feedback that you have for the webinar. Doesn't really matter how it is, but just let us know what you have for that, and then we will apply that to our future events. Like Danny mentioned in her opening, we are having these events quarterly. Our next topic is user journey. So that will be an in-person event at our office in Pleasant Ridge. So we will have more information to come, but just as a save the date, that will be in March. So we will give out that date shortly. And so, too, we just wanted to say happy holidays. We hope you have a great time with your family, friends, and are able to rest. And we are looking forward to helping grow your marketing goals for 2024.
Woo.
Thank you. Some
No,
good insights in there.
awesome. Awesome.
Merry Christmas or happy holidays.
You as well.
Happy holidays all. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
I thought we were going to stay on and recap.